So I believe that a watch tells more than just time, that it tells the story of engineering and art that defined an era. Hi, my name is Riaz and welcome to my channel, Maison Georgiette, a space dedicated to the world of horology, from the sweeping movements of a mechanical watch to some of the world's most iconic brands. Whether or not you're a seasoned collector or someone that's coming new and thinking about buying their first automatic, there is a seat at the table for you. So, let's go on this journey together to explore and take a deep dive into the art and history of watches. For this video, I thought I would start by talking to you about the Tourbillon, one of my favorite movements out there. So to understand the Tourbillon, we need to actually take a step back and look at how a mechanical watch functions. And if you look at this image that I'm putting up here, there's a lot of moving pieces to a watch, obviously, but there's really three key things that you need to focus on. The first is the power source, which is represented sort of in the top half of the image by the main hairspring. And this is where the power is stored when you actually wind your watch. The second sort of important parts of the watch are the gears themselves, which are responsible for moving the hands on a watch. And then finally, what I think is the most important part of the watch is what we call the escapement, which is kind of represented in the lower half of this image. And the escapement is more or less responsible for the tick-tock that you would hear when you put your ears up against your watch. It's responsible for maintaining a consistent power flow to the watch. Now, what was interesting when you look at watches historically is back in the days, people didn't wear watches on their hands. They actually wore pocket watches. And the problem is when you put a pocket watch in your pocket, gravity actually has an impact on the escapement, to the point where it can add or even take away seconds throughout the day. So a timepiece in the 17th century, for example, wasn't as accurate as you might think it was. You'd have to adjust the time probably once a week or once a month, for example. Which brings us to the Tourbillon. So let's talk about who invented the Tourbillon. He was a watchmaker by the name of Abraham-Louis Breguet. A Swiss-born watchmaker who lived in Paris in the 18th century, and he was well known at the time. In fact, he was making high horology pieces for the most famous families within France, including Marie Antoinette and even Napoleon Bonaparte. However, it was in 1801 that he patented the tourbillon, which in English means whirlwind. So how does a tourbillon work exactly? Well, Breguet looked at it and thought that if the escapement is kind of stuck in this one position and gravity is having an impact on it, well, what if I change the position of the escapement constantly? And so what he did was he put all the pieces of the escapement into a cage, and he had the cage itself move to the point where, it would do a full rotation every 60 seconds. So whatever effect gravity had on the escapement in the first half of a minute would be canceled out in the second half of a minute. Crazy, like absolutely brilliant. Is a tourbillon necessary today? Probably not. For one fact that we don't wear pocket watches anymore. We tend to wear watches on our wrists, and because our arms are always moving, that kind of averages out the impact of gravity over time. Plus, the materials that we put in watches now, like silicone, for example, also has an impact on how gravity affects it. So no, but it still still looks really good artistically speaking. If you ever have an opportunity to look at a tourbillon watch in person, just watching that cage and understanding the amount of work that goes into making something so small, so delicate, and have it work the way it works is amazing. That's the tourbillon in a nutshell. A heartbeat that's in a moving bird cage, basically. It's fascinating. Watchmaking is kind of this merger of engineering and art. And if you thought that the genius of Breguet was fascinating, please, send me a like and follow for more entertaining videos like this one.